All right, guys, we are live. It is Tuesday, the 9th of April, and I got a great show for you. We're going to start off with a little Black Sabbath with the War Pigs. Here we go. The generals are gathering in their masses. World War III is on the horizon. Everywhere we look, we see it happening. No one is doing anything to prevent it. We're all like lemmings running towards the cliff. Israel threatening to bomb Iran nuclear facilities. What's going on? What happened? What happened? Where's my music at? I don't know. I don't know. Yes, the Israelis are threatening to bomb Iranian facilities, nuclear facilities. Another container ship damn near destroys a bridge. Totally unrelated. Totally unrelated. Biden is looking to give nuclear missiles to Saudi Arabia. Nothing bad could happen there. Things are ramping up near the Philippines. We've got a lot of video about that. Texas may seize part of northern Mexico. Ha! You know I'm excited about that. That's something, excuse me, that is something that I feel good for America. Something I've always long thought we should do. We're fucked up. All right, we're back. Okay. Sorry about that. Everything's coming back online here. Maybe. I don't know. Okay. There we go. There we go. I'm just having a shitty day here all around, it looks like. I don't know if it's going to balance out or not. President Joe Biden will be out soon. Hey, Usi, we got news about Finland, Usi. Yeah, Russia threatens to nuke Finland. That's on here. Let's see, what else do we have? Well, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about. Apparently, my stream is fucking up. I don't know why. Maybe. I don't even know if it is. What's going on, y'all? It's me, SpaysE McG, your favorite cartoon nerd with the news, and I'm back at it again, doing what I do. You know how we do these things. Every day we're struggling to keep things going, and I get it. Life is hard, right? But what's not hard is... What's easy is being able to see World War III unfolding in front of us all right now. It's the government that's messing it up. Maybe. I don't know. All I know is, yeah, it's a rainy day. Whenever I have rain, it normally fucks with my internet connection. With my Wi-Fi. Yeah. It looks like it's stabled out though, so that's something. Okay, alright, yeah, so we have a lot of news to go over while we wait for the president and, then the secretary of, the press secretary, who will be out, in an hour. And the president is actually running late right now. So, that's unusual for Joe Biden. Joe Biden normally is pretty on time, if not early. God damn it. If not early. Normally he's on time, but I don't know. Not today. Yeah, so we're waiting for the president. We're waiting for him to come out, but while we wait, let's kind of have a look at the schedule here. So we have... Oh, this is from yesterday. So, here we are. Right now, Joe Biden delivers remarks. And then at 1:30, we have press briefing with Karine Jean-Pierre and Jake Sullivan this time. So it's not Kirby, it's Jake Sullivan. What's the difference? Okay. Kirby is the spokesperson for the Defense Department, right? The Pentagon, basically. Sullivan is an NSA advisor, right? So, while Sullivan also is a spokesperson, he's a press secretary, he's a mouthpiece, he also helps to determine policy, right? With Sullivan coming out, you can tell that, I don't know, something big is happening. I don't know what it is. But the fact that they're bringing Sullivan out is very telling. Hey, what's up? We got a nice little crowd starting to form out here. We got Usi. Let's rock. Let's rock, baby. We got Ronnie Braun saying the government's messing it up. I hope not. I can contend with lots of things, but the government is not one of them. Let's see. We've got smooth jazz plays. Biden late, something must be wrong. He always so punctual. A lot of times he's early, actually. A lot of times we have to start these events early because Joe Biden starts 10 minutes, 15 minutes early. But today, we're going on 15 minutes late, which is very much unlike the president, right? You don't really see him being this late often, actually. Well, I mean, I guess the last time we saw him. Hey, what's up, girl gone dog? Oh, you making some bread? Oh, what a good wifey you are. I wish someone would make me some bread. I wish I had some bread, some fresh baked bread. Aw. Now, okay, so we're just going to start with some news. Hey, what's up, Turning Guns? We're going to start up with some news. All right, so container ship loses propulsion and comes to halt close to a New York bridge 2 weeks after Baltimore tragedy. A huge container ship lost propulsion in New York's harbor and came to a halt close to the Verrazano Bridge over the weekend, in an eerily similar scenario to the deadly disaster in Baltimore less than 2 weeks earlier. Totally a coincidence, guys. Definitely not sabotage. Definitely not a cyber attack or anything like that. This is just the new normal. Boats crash into bridges all the time, guys. Okay? Now, the 1,145 long APL Qingdao lost propulsion in the waters around New York City on Friday evening, the U.S. Coast Guard told The Independent. The Coast Guard said that it received a report at about 8:30 p.m. about the incident while the huge vessel was making its way through the Kilvan-Cole waterway. The Kilvan-Cole Channel is a 3-mile long, 1,000-foot wide tidal strait between Staten Island and New York City and Bayonne, New Jersey, which connects Newark Bay and Upper New York Bay. It is considered one of the most heavily traveled waterways in the port area, the United States Army said. So, one of the busiest waterways had another container ship almost smash into a bridge. Almost smash into a bridge this time. Let's find out what happened. The massive ship was able to regain propulsion and was assisted by 3 towing vessels to safely anchor in Stapleton Anchorage outside of the navigable channel just north of the Verrazano Bridge, the Coast Guard said. These towing vessels were escorting the vessel as a routine safety measure, which is common practice for large vessels departing their berth. The ship came to rest and anchored near Verrazano Narrows Bridge, the 13,700-foot bridge span connecting Brooklyn and Staten Island, New York City Park states. The 12-year-old ship, registered in Malta, is now currently en route to Norfolk, Virginia, according to Vessel Finder. Repairs were made and the ship's system was assessed as fully operational before it departed New York's harbor again on Sunday morning, CBS reported. The Coast Guard said the ship did not lose power, just propulsion, unlike the Dolly container ship, which appeared to lose its power as it approached the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore in the early hours of 26th of March. As a result, the Dolly slammed into the bridge, causing it to collapse into the water of the Patapsco River. 6 construction workers died. We already know all these things. We want to hear about this other bridge. The Independent... Oh, God damn it. Okay, so that's it. That's all we know. A bridge. A boat almost crashed into a bridge, but didn't. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome that you like making bread the old-fashioned way. Aw. Aw. I like doing things the old-fashioned way, too. Now, where's this president at? Huh. Okay. Israel's preparing to strike Iranian nuclear facilities amid tense wait for revenge attack and soaring World War III fears. Israel's preparing to strike Iranian nuclear plants if faced with a revenge attack for the death of top Tehran commander last week. Netanyahu's war cabinet has been locked in crunch meetings over fears that Iran will launch an assault as Middle East tensions threaten to boil over into all-out war. Okay, so we're looking at pictures of nuclear sites in Iran. That's the building that Israel blew up. These are just Israeli missiles. And these are dead Iranis. So here's a map of what that would look like. So they have Iraq, Fordo. Now, Fordo has been hit before by the IDF. Actually, all of these facilities right here. Fordo, Natanz, Isfahan, and Bushehr were all hit in 2020 during the pandemic, in the summer of 2020, in the end of June and the beginning of July. All of these places mysteriously blew up. Right? And it's believed that it was a joint U.S.-Israeli operation. I'm about to sneeze. I'm trying not to. Okay. Now a Western security official has revealed that Israel will respond. Sorry about that. Israel will respond to any attacks by striking Iran's nuclear targets directly. Israeli forces have been conducting Air Force drills in preparation for the dangerous escalation, ELAF News reports. Iran is home to several nuclear sites, including power plants, uranium mines, and research reactors. A targeted attack against one of them could mark an unprecedented escalation in the melting pot of Middle East conflict. They describe it as a melting pot. Iran is home to several nuclear sites, including power plants. Oh wait, we already read that. I'm sorry. I have a lot of congestion today. I'm just trying to work through it here. A targeted attack against one of them. Okay, we already read that. Tehran's embassy in Syrian capital Damascus was destroyed in a suspected Israeli strike last Monday, killing several top brass commanders. General Mohammad Reza Zahadi died alongside 6 senior members of Iran's twisted terrorist army, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Iran's formidable supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, quickly hit out with revenge threats and vowed to defeat the Zionist regime. Snarling Tehran President Ibrahim Raisi said Israel's alleged blast will not go unanswered. Experts told The Sun that retaliation by Iran, backers of terrorist groups, including Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthi rebels, would spark a global war. Former British tank commander and military analyst Hamish de Breton Gordon described the countries as sworn enemies. In the 6 months since the war broke out between Hamas and Israel, Iranian terror proxies have wreaked havoc in their attempts to attack Israel. Hours after Iran threatened to strike Israel in revenge for the Damascus blast, national security defenses shot up and the army jumped to action in preparation for the worst. Israeli soldiers had planned leave canceled and reservists were called up. GPS across the country was also shut down as air defenses and missile stores were shored up. A fuming Netanyahu hit back that Israel knows how to defend itself and would harm anyone who posed a threat. The prime minister raged, "Iran has been acting against us for years. We will know how to defend ourselves." Well, it could also be said that Israeli forces have been covertly and blatantly running terrorist operations inside Iran, such as blowing up their nuclear facilities, right? And cyber attacks that lead them to blow up their own facilities and other things, right? So it's kind of a two-way street. You can't point the finger at your enemy and accuse them of the things that you're doing without acknowledging the fact that you are also doing those things, right? Does that make sense? I hope it does. Okay, there's no way to tell exactly how Iran would respond to an attack on its nuclear sites, or whether either country would resort to actually dispatching nuclear weapons. Notice how they said either country and nuclear weapons, right? I feel like everybody knows that Iran is a nuclear-capable country and probably has the nuke, right? We're not admitting it in the press, or no one's talking about it publicly except for me, but the odds are very high that Iran has already produced a nuclear weapon. You guys are still talking about bread, I see. Bread is delicious, right? Iran did publish a worrying graphic just days ago showing 9 different types of missiles it possessed that are capable of reaching Israel. Some can fly at a top speed of 560 miles an hour, but most of Tehran's terror collection can reach a range of 1,242 miles. Okay, so now here we're going to take a look at how their armies or whatever compare with each other. Israel has $24.4 billion defense budget. Iran with a $9.9 billion. Israel 612 airplanes. Iran 551. Active troops. Israel 173,000. Iran 575,000. Reserve 465,000 for Israel, 350,000 for Iran. That gives Iran an advantage of roughly, we're going to say 300,000 soldiers, okay? Tanks. Israel 2,200, Iran 4,071. I don't think that that's going to be able to really explain the disparity between the two. Yeah, Israel may have only 2,000 tanks, right? But I'm sure they're much more modern, more lethal weapons than what Iran possesses. Not that Iran is not capable of creating very good weaponry. It's just that they have a lot of old stuff too. Now, armored vehicles. 43,000 for Israel, 65,000 for Iran, and warships. Israel has 67 warships. Iran has 101. That's the guy that they killed right there. This is a nuclear reactor in Iran. Here we go. We're back. Maybe. I don't know. Okay, everything's stable. Okay. The Khyber missile has a range of 1,200 miles, top speed of Mach 5. The Emad missile, also 1,200 miles, Mach 7. The Ghadar missile, slightly less than 1,200 miles, Mach 9, so it's much faster. The Pava missile, 1650
Please
kilometers.
welcome Crystal Gale Crawford.
Oh, we got the president. They have a Qassam missile. Wow.
Greetings, everyone.
Yeah, but the ranges on these aren't very
Crystal Gale
good.
Crawford. I'm from Georgia.
They can all hit Israel, though. Israel and Iran are almost neighbors. They're almost direct neighbors.
Yes. Do we have any other child care workers in the building? Well, let me
Okay,
take
so we
you
have
on a
some
quick
black
journey.
lady
I have been working
who's going
as
to
a nanny for
proselytize for the
15
Democrats and the
years.
president.
I loved my job. But like many of you, I lost my job during the pandemic. And then I was in a terrible car accident. Suddenly, I found myself without a job and chronic back pain. So I moved home.
All right, hey, what's up, Salty Gamer, my
My
guy,
parents cared for me.
fellow Ohioan.
That's when I realized in a whole new way how important care is. It's a constant in my family. My grandmother relied on the care of my aunt, who was a pillar of strength. But in 2022, my aunt tragically passed away.
Aw,
So my mom stepped up.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Even as she was grieving her sister, she took on the role of caring for her mother. Care doesn't wait for you to finish grieving.
Well, what does it wait for?
Dedication and selflessness was inspiring. Now, we all have someone in our lives who inspires us with their dedication. But I want us to pause for a moment.
For me, that's Donald
Because
Trump.
in my story, that person is my mom. But in someone else's story, that's you. Yes, so point to yourself because you are all someone's hero.
Yeah, it's raining like a motherfucker down here in
Care
Cincinnati,
is
Salty.
fundamental aspect of our humanity. That's why we are here today, to make the care we
It's
all
raining
need
off
a
and on here in
reality
Cincinnati.
and not a dream. Come on, friends. It is my great honor
Usi
to
says
introduce to you
Iranians are
today
cowards,
our
so
care
those man
champion
numbers don't
in
really
chief.
matter. all
Yes, who
jihadis
brought
are
the care
cowards,
agenda
right?
to the
Except for the
forefront of
ones
our
that blow
nation's
themselves up,
economic agenda.
right?
He
But they're just
honors the
deranged
essential work of
religious
care workers
wingnuts,
like
right?
myself, and he is ready
Hey, Michael
to
King!
fight alongside us.
We got the
for
King of
care
Michaels
we
up in here.
need and deserve in our country.
Your Majesty.
Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome President Joe.
Boo! Boo! Hail to the chief, he's a kitty sniffing weirdo. Hail to the chief, cause he don't know where he is right now. And if you don't vote for him, he'll put you in the gulag. And if you don't like it, he'll send the IRS to your house.
Hello, hello. As my mother would say, God love you all. Crystal, thank you for sharing your story. And a simple truth. Folks,
It's her simple truth, guys.
last year at this day, I declared
It's the diddler. Hey, what's up, free?
Givers Month, and I couldn't think of no better place to celebrate it today than here at this.
They don't have suicide bombers in the Iranian army.
For 36 years, I commuted from the state of Delaware to here.
Suicide bomber.
And over a million, a lot of times. The reason I did is I think I understand a little bit what many of you have gone through and what you're trying to help with. You know, when I got elected, I was 29 years old.
That was 140 years ago.
Here hiring staff. Before I was sworn in, I got a call saying my wife and daughter were dead. My 2 boys were badly injured. And so, you know, I wasn't going to come down. But
the wife probably called him diddling the daughter, so he had to get rid of her.
Older members like me.
And the daughter.
50,
hey, blind dude, my guy.
Who helped me out. But all kidding aside, I didn't have them. I just started a law practice. I didn't have any money. I mean, I made a living, but
Was he just joking about his family dying? Hey, Mr. President. Mr. President, that is my job to laugh about your family dying. You don't get to make jokes about your dead family. I do that. This is what I do.
I didn't have any money. And what I tried to do is figure out how I was going to raise my boys. No, I'm serious. And I tell you.
So I married the babysitter. We all know her as Dr. First Lady Jill Biden.
Tell you what, I really wonder, why did I commute every single day? Over 1 million miles round trip over the time I was in the United States Senate. And the reason
Because I was broke. That's why I took all the bribes, because I was broke.
I couldn't afford a house down here without selling my house at home, and I couldn't afford caregiving. It's the God's truth. No possibility.
It's the God's
None
truth.
whatsoever. But I'm lucky I had a family. My mother, my father, my sister, my brother all moved in, helped me take care of my kids. But then we ended up with Mom getting sick and Dad getting sick, and
you know, that's when the bribe money started rolling in, so I didn't need them anymore. So I sent Jimmy over to K Street to lobby for bills that I could easily pass, and then we split the money. 10% for the big guy.
We took care of them, the so-called sandwich generation. Look, you care workers represent the best of who we are.
Okay, we're back. We're back. Sorry about that, guys. It's raining here. When it rains, it kind of fucks up my Wi-Fi a little bit.
There's so many people who do it.
I have a new Wi-Fi card coming in the mail. It's just going to take like another week to get here.
And do it out of love and concern, not because of the pay, because they're not getting the pay they need. It matters. As your president, I'm here with a simple message. I give you my word. I have your back.
He always talks about his stupid family. I agree, girl.
I also want to thank the family of Audie Barkin, whose widow Rachel and her son here, Carl, are here just backstage. Just met with them. Their family embodies why care matters. It's critical to the dignity of care. The dignity of all caregivers and workers. My dad used to say,
it's hard to get a balanced volume on the president.
A job's about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity.
Shut up about your stupid father. No one cares. No one cares about your dad.
Say, honey, it's going to be okay. Care workers and caregivers
hey, what's
are
up, Captain Crappy?
The entire economy. That's why, as a candidate, as
hey, I saw your Stan Satan show.
We made progress, but there's so much more.
You're pretty creative, Captain. I like you. I like you, Captain Crappy.
We want the best economy in the world. We have to have the best caregiving economy in the world. We really do. They're not inconsistent. They're consistent. But the cost of care is too high, and pay for care workers is much too low. Take child care. A typical family spends $11,000 a year on child care per child. Per child. If you live in a big city, that can be $17,000 for each child. More than their college tuition, if God willing, you're able to get there. And
$11,000 a year? That's like 20% of the average American income, right? I'm just saying, I don't believe that. I don't believe the average American is paying 20% of their income for daycare.
A lot of parents do the math and realize they can't afford to go to work. because child care can sometimes literally cost more than they earn, You know, take-home care, the cost of long-term care for aging loved ones and people with disabilities rose 40% in the last decade.
See, now he's way too quiet.
Medicaid
Now he's way too loud.
You can't meet the demand. You know, there are 700,000 seniors waiting in line. 700,000 waiting in line. And people with disabilities are stuck in Medicaid home care waiting lists for as long as 10 years if they survive to be qualified. It's amazing. Think about it.
Think about what you think about.
Like ours and yours often spend their own retirement savings to pay for the care of the loved ones. Others leave their jobs to care for them. And millions are part of the so-called sandwich generation, taking care of both your kids and your aging parents at the same time. At least that's been the experience of the Biden family. It's overwhelming. Take paid leave.
No, what's overwhelming is the amount of bullshit coming from this guy's mouth.
We're the advanced economy in the world not to guaranteed paid leave. We're going to change that.
Hey, I'm having issues, guys. Like I said, the rain kind of...
No, I'm serious. You wonder whether I feel...
it would be difficult to run sound for him. You would have to normalize the volume, which would give you distortion when he goes over the volume threshold. So, yeah, that would be the only way to do it, would be to normalize the volume, but that comes with its own problems.
I feel strongly about this. I do. Look, more often than not, from child care to elder care to...
That wouldn't be the only way to do it. I mean, you could manually adjust the knobs.
Bear the brunt. We saw that during...
But you'd have to be very talented.
Bear the brunt. We saw that during...
But you'd have to be very talented. You'd have to be very talented to pull that off.
The pandemic, when 2 million women left their jobs to help take care of their families. It hurts our whole economy to lose so much talent in the workplace. And it keeps women from earning equal pay they deserve because they say, well, you haven't been here. Look, in fact, care workers are predominantly women as well, women of color and immigrants who are overworked, overlooked, and underpaid. It's not enough just to praise them for all they're doing. We have to pay them. To invest in our care economy, as soon as I came to office, I signed the American Rescue Plan. Not a single Republican voted for it, I might add, not one.
It's because it was a bad bill.
Biggest investment in child care
it
ever.
Increased inflation. Thank God not a single Republican voted for it.
For example, it kept 225,000 child care workers, child care working centers open, giving parents an opportunity to get back to work. Well, I tell you what, you want to come make a speech or shush up, okay? I'm not messing around with him. He looks like he could take me.
A 4-year-old child could knock you the fuck out, Joe Biden.
Look,
you can barely stand.
The child care tax credit. Cutting.
A chihuahua could literally murder and eat Joe Biden.
Child poverty in America in half. That's what it did. We cut it in half.
Bullshit.
Overall, my administration increased funding for nearly 50%, by 50% for child care. And in the coming weeks, we plan to release new rules to strengthen staffing standards in nursing homes, to get home care workers a bigger share of Medicaid payments. But that's not going to be enough. I want to do more, and we can do more. My budget for next year makes key commitments to children, seniors, and people with disabilities, and to caregivers who look after their loved ones. First, for working families with small children, we're going to guarantee affordable quality child care.
I have to give it up for him. He's not flubbing as bad as he normally does. We give credit where credit's due. Joe Biden is not flubbing anywhere near as badly as he normally does. I'm assuming he just woke up a little while ago.
Most families, in our plan, most families will pay less than $10 a day per child, saving millions of folks as much as $7,000 a year. That's a lot of breathing room for young families who need it badly. We'll also restore the expanded child care tax credit.
That's still $50 a week
Lifting
per kid.
millions of children out of poverty. And by the way,
That's
this helps the economy.
$2,500
It
a week per kid. If you have 4 kids, you're not saving any money,
helps the economy.
according to his own numbers.
You know, our Republican friends let that
I'm sorry,
expire.
$2,500
Well, we got to expire
a
couple
year
months
per kid.
legally
My bad.
in order to get this passed. Together, we're going to bring it back. Second,
Bring it
seniors and people with disabilities, we're going to expand Medicaid home care services and reduce that 700,000.
Bring it back to me.
That'll mean more folks can live and work in their own communities with dignity and independence. More home care workers will start getting a better pay and benefits and dignity they deserve. By the way, if anybody's listening besides all of us, we agree on this. This is really, we're deadly earnest. This is not, was not a joke.
There's 312 people watching this.
For everyone caring for a loved one, my budget would finally create a national
312 people. When the president speaks through an official White House channel, he can draw an audience worldwide, guys, worldwide, of 312 people. Oh, man. Oh, man, that's fucking gotta hurt.
Finally. Up to 12 weeks to care for a newborn, a sick loved one, or yourself without losing your income. Look, it's past time America caught up with the rest of the world on paid leave.
The only reason we're watching it is so we can laugh at him.
All this helps families, and it grows the economy. It grows the economy. And we can afford to do it. To put it another, we can't afford not to do it. Look, I'm a cap.
I wonder how many people in that room are logged into the stream, right? Just to boost the number of people watching it.
But I want to make sure that, you know, if you make $1 million, great.
And I bet it's all conservatives watching to laugh at him. I bet it is. Bye, dude.
But let me ask you, does anyone here think this tax code is fair? Raise your hand. I don't either. The last administration enacted a $2 trillion tax cut.
Yeah, I don't think the tax code is fair. That's why my family never pays taxes.
Overwhelmingly benefiting the very wealthy and the biggest corporations. Exploded the federal
What's up,
deficit
SD?
more than any other president has. We've cut the deficit, by the way. It added more.
He cut the deficit by increasing it by $5 trillion, guys. He cut the deficit by increasing it, right? We are running at, I think it's this year, a $1.2 trillion deficit. He cut it by increasing it, guys.
More to the national debt than any presidential term in history. And it's due to expire next year. And guess what? I hope to be president because it expires. It's going to stay expired.
Oh, we saw the eclipse. We saw the eclipse here. I almost missed it. My friend is disabled, and I had to strongly encourage him to try to, get himself up the stairs so that we could go out and watch the eclipse, right? So we barely saw it, but we saw it.
Stay expired. Our administration's already cut the deficit by $1 trillion. I'm going to cut it even more this decade by making big corporations and very wealthy begin to pay their
But right now it's all clouds and rain.
Under my plan, nobody earning less than $400,000 a year will pay an extra penny in taxes. I hope that is best.
And we all know that's
We're
bullshit.
not trying to beat people. There are 1,000 billionaires in America, from 750 to 1,000 since the pandemic. You know what the average tax?
So let's say you increase their taxes by 1%, right? That's only 1,000 people, right? I don't understand why he's going after these 1,000 billionaires, right? Right? I don't get it. Like, wouldn't the better way to increase government inputs, right? To increase government funding would be to increase growth, and thereby, with more people spending more money, right, the government gets more taxes, right? Wouldn't that be a better way to increase the government's receipts, right? Right? If you tax wealth. Okay, so this is how it works. Anything you tax, you get less of, right? If you tax gas, people use less gas. If you tax fucking cigarettes, people smoke less cigarettes, right? If you tax wealth, people create less wealth. It's that simple, right? If you incentivize wealth by giving people tax cuts for creating jobs or, spending a bunch of money to increase growth, which does increase government funds, right? Then everybody wins, right? But when you punish people for being successful, right, you get less success. It's basic econ 101, right? It's like one of the first things you learn in economics is that, whoa, what happened? When you tax something, you get less of it, right? The more you tax something, the less of it you get. Something's messed up. I messed something up. We are live, folks. I don't know why it's not working. Let's try to refresh it. Okay, there it goes. Stop sending money to other countries would be a good start. Yeah, it would be.
Child care workers. Please, we're going to expand Medicaid home care services and reduce that 700.
I think this is about where we were.
$400,000 you'll pay an extra penny.
Here we go.
I hope that is best. As a making clear, we're not trying to beat people. There are 1,000 billionaires in America, from 750 to 1,000 since the pandemic. You know what the average tax rate those billionaires pay?
Yes, the success.
8.
When people are successful, they spend more money, which in turn creates more taxes for the government. John F. Kennedy proved this in the 1960s, guys. In the 1960s, we learned that cutting taxes increases government revenue, right?
0.2%. No, I'm serious. Anybody want to trade that tax rate? Well, look, that's far less than the vast majority of Americans pay. No billionaire.
Actually, most billionaires pay something like 20% in taxes. I don't know where he gets that number. That's like their effective, whatever. The first line, like deduction, right? But they also pay Medicare tax. They also pay sales tax, right? They also pay, what's it called? Capital gains taxes, right? They pay lots of taxes. Do you know the short-term capital gains tax rate is like 25%? So that means if I make $1 million in the stock market, I pay $250,000 in taxes, right?
Should pay lower tax rate than a teacher, a firefighter, a care worker.
And they pay 56% of all taxes collected. Indeed. Indeed, SD.
25%. And guess what? It's more fair.
Do you know how much the average American pays in taxes compared to them? It's something like 7%, right? That's because most Americans pay no taxes at all, except for sales tax, right? Right? The average American pays 7% of their money in taxes, which is also the sales tax rate. Weird, isn't it? Weird, isn't it?
But it also, guess what it would do over 10 years? It would raise $500 billion. $500 billion. And it wouldn't hurt anybody. I'm a capitalist. If you make $1 billion, wonderful.
Yeah,
Pay
the little guy.
share.
Yeah, if you make less than $100,000 a year, they'll take like if you make $100,000 plus a year, you pay like almost 50% in taxes, right? It's like 38 or 40% or something when you add in sales tax and Medicare and all that, right? You're paying like 40-something% in taxes, right?
Imagine what we can do. Imagine what we can do for America. Look, folks, imagine a future with affordable child care, home care, elder care, paid leave. But folks, our Republican friends have a different vision. Republicans in the House of Representatives, and by the way, Rosa DeLauro, she was here, I was told.
It's the middle class that gets raped on taxes.
Champion for all
People making $100,000 to $200,000
that
get
cuts
raped.
caregiving programs by a third, the ones that exist, cuts them by a third. For example, it would mean 260,000 fewer kids in child care. My predecessor and his MAGA friends want
that's true. There's a payroll tax. Exactly.
They want to terminate.
The company has to pay taxes on the money it pays you. Yes.
Terminate. Well, guess what? Killing millions of Americans, take them off of health care, insurance, is stripping others of services like home care.
Yeah, that's what the Democrats have been doing. They've been killing millions of elderly Americans, right, by forcing them into confined spaces with COVID outbreaks. They killed millions of Americans that shouldn't have died, right? And in order to lower their health care costs. The same is happening in Canada right now, right? Canada is euthanizing people who are sad. Are you sad? Well, why don't you kill yourself? We'll do it for you.
Folks, by the way, you know how many times they've tried to take out Obamacare, Affordable Health Care Act? 49 times they've tried. They can keep trying, but they're not going to get it done.
Lucy pays 38% in taxes, yeah. But you're one of those socialist countries, aren't you? Don't you get like subsidized housing and subsidized like electricity and things like that too? Free college and all those things. So that's what happens when you become a socialist country is you pay more taxes. England, the people in England pay like 50% of their taxes, of their money in taxes. And the people like, I think it's Sweden or Norway, pay almost 75% of their money in taxes.
And look, when it comes to Social Security and Medicare, my predecessor recently said, quote, there's a lot you can do in terms of cutting. God love him. Right on cue, House Republicans released their budget that would raise the retirement age of Social Security, the budget they submitted for next year, and slash Medicare while they cut taxes for the very wealthy again. I got a better idea. I'll protect Social Security and Medicare and make the very wealthy pay their fair share to make it work. Look, let me conclude.
They are subjects, not citizens.
Crystal said, you're all, and I mean this sincerely, you're all somebody's hero. That's what I see in our nation's caregivers. Heroes. We need you. Not a joke, we need you. And together, I know we can do this. I've never been more optimistic about our future. We just have to remember who we are. We're the United States of America.
Old man
nothing
yells.
Beyond our capacity. Nothing. If we do it together. So let's stay at work, get to work, keep working, and God bless you all, and may God bless our troops. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on over to the press secretary. If she comes out, let's see, it should be on here. So we're just waiting for the press secretary now. She's not scheduled for a few more minutes. What the hell is this? I didn't click this button. Give me my press secretary. Okay. So we have Jake Sullivan and Karine Jean-Pierre. Something's going on if Jake Sullivan's coming out. Here's where we were. What do we have next? Okay. The Biden administration is pursuing a nuclear program for Saudi Arabia, but there's one big problem. The Biden administration's goal of supporting a Saudi Arabian nuclear program could end with the country weaponizing nuclear capabilities in an arms race against Iran. White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan will meet with Saudi Crown Prince MBS on Thursday to discuss a deal that could normalize relations between Israel and Saudi Arabia and include U.S. support for a Saudi nuclear program, according to Axios. While the nuclear program would be for civilian purposes, such as energy production, MBS has warned that Saudi Arabia will abandon the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty to create nuclear weapons if Iran also obtains them. Iran and Saudi Arabia have a troubled relationship, only recently restoring some diplomatic ties while still harboring distrust of each other. Yes, Iran is like the capital of Sunni Muslims, I think. Yes. No, Iran is the capital of Shia Muslims, and Saudi Arabia is the capital of Sunni Muslims. Right? I think that's right. Okay. Well, and it's not right, it's the opposite. The point is, these two people hate each other on many different levels, right? Now, we are concerned with any country getting a nuclear weapon. If any country uses a nuclear weapon, that means they are having a war with the rest of the world, MBS said during an interview with Fox News in September. If Iran gets one, we have to get one. Well, that makes sense. I mean, my thing is, like, the world was never more safe from a nuclear annihilation than during the Cold War. And I know that's counterintuitive, right? But what was going on is, there were only two people that could drop nukes, right? And as long as it just stayed those two people, nobody was ever going to get nuked, right? But now, with every fucking crackpot dictator around the country, right, getting weapons, nuclear weapons, we're ever closer to a nuclear annihilation, guys. This is not cool. Now, the deal the Biden administration hopes to achieve with Saudi Arabia would also have to be ratified by the U.S. Senate, which presents a host of challenges given the current political dynamics in the chamber. According to Axios, Sullivan will discuss the deal with MBS in Saudi Arabia on Thursday, one day after several other Biden administration officials arrive in the region. The National Security Council did not immediately respond to a request for a comment. SD says, I went to a Mercedes rolling contest in Dubai back in the day. They just buy Mercedes and my backs and see how many times they can roll it over. Well, what a waste of money. Okay. Okay, China is edging towards war. Guys, these are all news stories from today. China edging towards war with territory plot in second South China Sea region. U.S. Admiral John Aquilino has sounded the alarm over China's recent actions in the South China Sea, stating that they pose a dangerous and we're back. Their actions against the Philippines, particularly in the Second Thomas Shoal, resulted in 6 sailors being injured. So what's next, and how far are they willing to go in that area? From water cannon attacks on Philippine ships to confrontations with neighboring countries like Japan and Malaysia, China's assertive expansion strategy has sparked concerns globally. In Manila, protesters expressed their outrage at China's actions by marching towards the Chinese consulate, chanting slogans demanding the nation's departure from the region. Now, and this is starting to boil over. China Coast Guard harasses Filipino fisherfolk bank. 2 Chinese Coast Guard ships harass Filipino fisherfolk and Philippine Coast Guard and Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources ships during a mission to Rizal Reef, Palawan, Philippines. Filipino fisherfolk were harassed by 2 China Coast Guard CCG ships as they installed payos, or local fish aggregating devices, in the vicinity of Recto Bank in the West Philippine Sea on Thursday, April 4th. At one point, the Chinese Coast Guard personnel appeared to position in front of their ship's water cannon as they sailed close to much smaller boats and tried to chase away the smaller Filipino fishing boats. Journalists on board the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources, Lapu-Lapu, and the Philippine Coast Guard's Cabra were also told to prepare for water cannons when one Chinese Coast Guard personnel seemed to position himself in front of the red water cannon spout. This was despite the presence of and radio challenges from vessels of the Philippines Coast Guard and the Bureau of Fishing, whatever, which had accompanied 25 fisherfolk to install 10 payas in Rizal Reef, which is in the southernmost part of Recto Bank. So yeah, and we have video of this. Palawan is one of the most beautiful places on earth. I love that point. Oh, yeah, well, I've never been there, but the Philippines is like a beautiful tropical island full of beautiful, kind, conservative, traditional people, right? They're beautiful people. They are so polite and friendly, and just, the Philippines is a great place, right? It's just a great place. It's a beautiful country with beautiful people who have a rich culture, right? A Christian culture, right? My friend has a girlfriend in the Philippines, and he showed me videos of what they do on Easter. And they walk around beating themselves with whips and carrying crosses through the streets. Yeah, China fucking sucks, Uzi. Yeah. So the Philippines should really be an American state. It should be a state, just like northern Mexico should be a state. Just like fucking Western Canada should be a state. Just like Israel should be a state, right? Your mother was a witch. She was burned alive. My mother died due to lack of medical treatment because of your stupid Obamacare, Mr. President. You and Obama's fucking Unaffordable Health Care Act killed my mother. It killed my mother. It killed my mother, right? The Philippines bully Poppins, though. Oh, I don't know anything about that. Yes, they should be American states. I agree. Now, we have video of the Chinese harassing the Philippines. Oh, wait, where is it? Or maybe we don't have video. I thought we did. Here we go. We have video. Let's play it. So there's the fishing boat, if you can see right there. And there is the Chinese vessel. There's the little tiny fishing boat, and there's the Chinese vessel. Okay, and that's it. Let's check in on the press secretary. Not here yet. And yeah, Putin's forces hit by double hammer blow as warship destroyed in fireball drone attack. And here's that video. Okay, we're back, baby. Sorry about that. The rain kind of fucks my show up, guys. I'm sorry about that. Okay, here we have Russia. Let's see here. Vladimir Putin has suffered a huge blow after Ukrainian forces reportedly hit a Russian warship armed with caliber missiles in Kaliningrad region of Baltic Sea. Here we go. Here they are sinking their own ship. Oh, no, wait. The attack on the Serpukov was carried out on April 7th and caused a large fire to break out on board. The fire has seriously damaged communication systems and automation equipment, according to Ukraine's Defense Intelligence Agency, the GUR. The GUR said it was still assessing whether there had been any casualties as a result of the strike, but confirmed that the warship was not in good shape. A spokesperson said it was a special operation by the GUR. The ship is not in a good condition right now. It just burned out. Okay? And this comes as the United States destroys a Houthi air defense system near the Red Sea. The U.S. military declared on Monday the successful, elimination of air defense and drone systems belonging to Yemen's Houthi forces in the Red Sea region. Despite the operation, there were no reported injuries or damages to commercial U.S. or coalition vessels. According to the U.S. Central Command, the targeted strike destroyed an air defense system armed with 2 missiles, a ground control station, and an unmanned aerial system deployed by the Houthis from Yemen across the Red Sea. The Houthis, in a Sunday statement, claimed responsibility for launching rockets and drones towards a British, American, and Israeli ships. The actions are part of their ongoing campaign. We already know all that. With routes disrupted, shipping companies have been compelled to reroute vessels around the southern tip of Africa. Now, so with Ukraine funding being held up in Congress, right, and Biden not being able to send billions of dollars into his meat grinder in Ukraine, the United States has come up with a clever way of supplying the Ukrainians. What we're doing is we're sending seized Iranian weapons and ammos to Ukraine. So we're patrolling the Red Sea intercepting weapons for Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis. Why do they all begin with H? Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthis, right? Right? We're seizing the weapons meant for them, and we're shipping them to Ukraine. What could possibly go wrong? All right. Washington has given Ukraine small arms and ammunition that were seized while being sent from Iranian forces to Tehran-backed rebels in Yemen, the U.S. military said Tuesday. The transfer last week came as Ukraine suffers from significant shortages of ammunition, and U.S. Republican lawmakers block new aid. But it does not address Kiev's need for key items such as artillery and air defense munitions. The U.S. government transferred over 5,000 AK-47s, machine guns, sniper rifles, RPG-7s, and over 500,000 rounds of 7.62 millimeter ammunition. I think that's for the AKs, if I'm not mistaken, to the Ukrainian armed forces on Thursday, the U.S. Central Command said on social media. These weapons will help Ukraine defend it against Russia's invasion and are enough material to equip a brigade, it said. The arms and ammunition were seized between May 2021 and February of 2023 from 4 stateless vessels as the supplies were being transferred from Iran's Revolutionary Guards to Yemen's Houthi rebels. The government obtained ownership of these munitions on December 1st, 2023 through the Department of Justice civil forfeiture claims, it said. Hittites. Oh, they're all Hittites. They're all Amorites. We should cut their dicks off. We should cut all their dicks off and take their women. Just like God told Moses to do. All right. Now, while all that's going on, it just doesn't end, guys. Belarus is preparing for war, its president warns. The leader of Belarus, a staunch ally of Russia, says his nation is ready for war. Belarus, which was dubbed by The Economist in May of 2021 as Europe's last dictatorship and is located to the north of Ukraine, was a staging area when Russian troops invaded Ukraine in 2022. Belarus, once known as White Russia, clung to the Soviet model after the fall of the Soviet Union, of which it, like Ukraine, was a part. While visiting the city of Grundo, in the western part of the country from the capital of Minsk, Belarus leader Alexander Lukashenko spoke about preparations for war. The state-run news agency Belta said, according to the website Meduza, a Russian and English-language news site based in Latvia, don't believe anyone who says we want to go to war. We're preparing for war. I openly admit that. I'm not the one who came up with the maxim, if you want peace, prepare for war, but it's very correct, he said. Belarus is training the relevant units and supplying soldiers with various weapons and equipment, he said. On Friday, Lukashenko said Belarus will suspend participation in the Conventional Forces in Europe Treaty, according to the Associated Press. The 1990 accord limits. Zelensky said, "We don't see any threats from Belarus yet, but the enemy must know that he will be repulsed. Russians on the territory of Belarus should know that there are defensive lines here and there will be an army here. They should know this. There are no secrets." Okay, so that's basically it. Okay. Now, hey, this is for you, Uzi. Russia issues nuclear warning to new NATO member. That would be Uzi. A Russian ambassador had harsh words for Finland on Saturday, warning that the country would retaliate against the new member of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization if nuclear weapons were placed on Finnish soil. Finland is one of the newest European countries to join the military alliance, being officially welcomed into the fold in April of 2023. The Nordic nation was spurred to seek membership by Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February 2022 and its increased threats of aggression against other nations. Sweden is the latest country admitted to NATO. Both nations announced that they were considering applying for membership in May of 2022, only a few months after the start of the Russian-Ukraine war. Russia has long viewed NATO as an antagonistic force, given the influence of founding members like the United States and the United Kingdom. NATO members are also obliged to provide military aid to other members in the event of an attack, meaning that Russia risks a much larger conflict should it take action against the likes of Finland. Yeah, so we got your back, baby. Yes, Uzi. My guy, my man. Yes, there are sexy Indian news anchors on World is One News. You are absolutely right. LYIN News has sexy news anchors, but their sexiest news anchor, well, I don't know. There's a couple hotties on LYIN. I'm just gonna say that. But my favorite one, Paki Sharma, has left LYIN and has started her own news company, which I can't remember what it's called, but she has her own news company now. Paki Sharma, and she's hot as shit too. I love her. Blind dude. I bought a huge Ziploc of 10,000 empty capsules. It was so funny, I wanted to make a video. Such a big bag. Ha ha ha. Yeah, I'm just gonna shut up. I'm just gonna shut up about empty capsules. Okay, now, sooner or later, the relationship between the neighbors will be restored. This is not going to happen as quickly as we might want, though, the ambassador said. Everything here will depend not so much on Helsinki, which has largely lost its independence in making decisions on foreign policy, but rather on the general policy course being pursued by Washington and Brussels towards Russia. In any case, there will be no return to the previous format of cooperation now that Finland has joined the aggressive military bloc of NATO. Shawarma shop. Yeah, so Russia's going to nuke Finland if the U.S. places nuclear weapons on Finnish soil. That's what they're saying, guys. I'm not making this up. The Russians are. Where's our press secretary? Late as fuck. I don't know. I don't know why being on time is so racist, but it is, guys. It is. Now, I'd like to say that was the worst news I have for today, but it gets worse, guys. It gets worse. Remember, these are all stories from either this weekend, Monday, or today. Yeah, what relations? Exactly. Yes, I do, blind dude. Okay. German troops arrive in Lithuania. Their first long-term foreign deployment since World War II. What? What? What's going on? The Germans invaded Lithuania? What is going on? Being on time would be respectful. Well, no, you don't. See, girl, you don't understand black people, right? It's their cultural priority to make people wait as long as possible. You see, punctuality, right, is a tool of the systemic racism of white supremacy, right? Right? Only white people can be on time, right? And expecting people of color to be on time is racist. Now, black time is about 15 minutes behind our time. So I think that technically she's late by her own definition of being late, right? Black time is 15 minutes late. But she's like almost a half hour late. So I think that makes her actually late. Hey, what's up, hillbilly? Now let's find out about Germany invading Lithuania or something. Lithuania. Lithuanian leaders hailed a historic event as Germany on Monday began deploying troops into the Baltic country, a NATO member, marking the first time since World War II that German forces will be based outside the country on a long-term basis. About 24 soldiers arrived in Lithuania, laying the groundwork for a further 150 to join them later this year. The deployment is expected to be up to its full strength of 5,000 by the end of 2027. This is the first time that we have permanently stationed such a unit outside of Germany, German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius said in Berlin at a farewell ceremony for the preliminary command of Germany's Lithuanian Brigade. According to German news agency DPA, Pistorius called it an important day for the German army. In the Lithuanian capital, Vilnius, Defense Minister Laurinus Kaskiunis said that the move was a great example for all the countries on NATO's eastern flank. On the east will even think about testing NATO's Article 5, he told reporters. And now Article 5 is what guarantees that if Russia attacks any NATO country, America will attack Russia, right? Right? Now, the German army, the Bundeswehr, has taken part in long-term operations abroad since the 1990s, as well as in the Mediterranean. However, this is the first permanent standalone German deployment not on rotation as part of a multinational force. So, yeah. So, uh-oh. Come on, man. We're back. Hey, Ash, what's going on, baby? I'm glad you made it. You missed some of the big stories, bro. Let's see. I'm just going to do a real quick recap for Ash. Israel threatens to blow up Iranian nuclear facilities. Biden wants to give Saudi Arabia nuclear capabilities. Belarus is preparing for war. Russia will nuke Finland. And Germany is stationing troops in Lithuania. Oh, and China is still harassing Philippines. And now they're even going after boats, fishing boats. Right? Oh, man, I'm only down to my opinion pieces now. Yeah, the weather fucking sucks today. In Ohio as well. Wow. This bitch is super late. Now, all this is happening today. Americans bombed Houthi rebels, and we took out one of their air defense systems. Weapons we stole from Iran to Ukraine for some reason. So Iranian weapons confiscated in the Red Sea are being sent to Ukraine now because America can't afford to fund Ukraine. Oh, God damn it. And my internet is fucking up because it's raining here. Let's see here. Did NASA launch those 3 rockets? I don't know. I've been so preoccupied with World War III spilling over across all the different borders that I haven't really been paying attention to what NASA's doing. Okay. Now, sorry. All right. This is from Salon, okay? So this is all about Trump derangement. Hey, what's up, Pew Pew? Hey, who is surprised that Uzi the Finn is eating fish for lunch? Yeah. Nothing's more Finnish than fish for lunch, I'll tell you that. There, I learned enough about Finland to make racist comments like that. It's probably herring. It's probably herring. Okay. Are you better off than you were 4 years ago? The question is circulating on social media and cable news every day now in response to the Trump campaign foolishly asking it. Apparently expecting that everyone is mathematically illiterate and won't look back to the spring of 2020 when thousands... Well, yeah. Yeah, I guess if you only consider what was going on in the pandemic, then you're not better. I mean, I was better off. 4 years ago, I was way better off. I wasn't homeless. I had money coming in. I had a girlfriend that was really hot. My future looked bright. My YouTube channel was blowing up. It was a good time. Now, you'd think the last thing they'd want anyone to remember is Donald Trump appearing on television every day, yelling at reporters and telling people to take snake oil cures or inject disinfectant. Some Elon type needs to buy YouTube. Yeah, but I would still be shadow banned. You know how I know? Because I'm still shadow banned on Twitter, right? Elon Musk took over Twitter, and yet I'm still shadow banned, right? Because Elon's not going to unban me because I'm about to release a Twitter killer, right? I'm about to kill Twitter, right? Now, why are we talking about the pandemic? Okay, this is stupid. We're not even going to read this. Okay, finally. Texas independence movement seeks breakup of Mexico. Oh, you have to write to them? Okay. No, Elon Musk is definitely not my friend. And he's not really, he's not what he appears to be, right? Everything he is doing is calculated in order to give himself more power. He's not altruistic. He's not a free speech maximalist. And you can tell that by the first thing he did was ban people reporting on him. Right? Right? I mean, Elon Musk sure is admirable for some reasons, right? But really, if the more you find out about him, the less you like him, right? Okay. A leading Texas nationalist group has warned Mexican President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, that's a lot of names, it will begin actively supporting secessionist movements in his country in response to what it argues is his failure to control illegal migration into the Lone Star State. Daniel Miller, president of the Texas National Movement, delivered the message to Obrador in videos published on social media in both English and Spanish. The Texas Nationalist Movement is campaigning for Texas to leave the United States and become a fully independent nation. There has been growing interest in what would happen if Texas did vote to become an independent nation, as it was for 9 years between declaring independence from Mexico in 1836 and joining the United States in 1845. Such calls have been intensified by tensions between authorities in Texas and the federal government over how to handle migration across the Mexican border. There were 68,260 encounters between suspected illegal immigrants and law enforcement along the Texas-Mexico border in January of 2024. That's in 1 month. In his message, Miller accused the Mexican government of turning a blind eye to illegal border crossings, which had led to a humanitarian disaster, a surge in criminal activity, and a strain on Texas resources and public services. As a result, he said, the Texas Nationalist Movement believes that the only way to secure our border with the United States of Mexico is to no longer share a border with the United States of Mexico, and thus would begin offering aid to secessionist groups in the north of the country. Miller commented, God damn it. Okay. Yeah. Something like that, Uzi, yes. Texas, so Texas has the second largest oil exchange in the world, the WTI, the West Texas Index, right? It's only, or in the United States, I should say. I don't know about OPEC and all that, but there's the Brent Light Sweet Crude Index, and then there's the West Texas Index, right? The WTI, right? New Mexico is lucky, I guess. We have no big cities near the southern border. They went from crossing Texas straight to Arizona and California. Stepped right over our asses. Yeah. New Mexico is kind of a shithole. I'm sorry to say that, bro. I went there and I was like, oh my God. These people are living in utter poverty when I was in New Mexico. It's got to be one of the poorest states in the country. The people there are very kind, though. The people are very nice and friendly. I can't believe it's a Democrat state, actually. Yeah, poor but happy. Yeah, the people are very nice. You're absolutely right. The people there are very sweet, very nice, very willing to help people. I hitchhiked through there. Now they said our support will be aimed at helping these states organize a powerful movement towards self-determination, focusing on peaceful dialogue, legislative action, and advocacy to secure and win a referendum for independence. The actions of the Mexican government have brought us to a crossroads in this defining movement. Miller accused the Mexican government of having forgotten the lessons that Texas taught it on the San Jacinto battlefield, a decisive Texan victory in 1836 that occurred during the state's fight for independence. He also noted that the 1835-36 Texan Revolution was accompanied by campaigns for independence or autonomy in other Mexican states, such as Zacatecas, Yucatan, and Nuevo Leon. A survey conducted exclusively for Newsweek in early February by Redfield and Wilton strategists found that 23% of eligible Texas voters would support the state becoming an independent nation in a hypothetical independence referendum versus 67% who opt to remain a state within the United States. However, in concerning news for supporters of the Union, the poll also found that the migrant crisis has made 44% of Texans more likely to back independence against 16% who said it made them less likely to support secession, and 35% whom it made no difference. It is, Felix, I agree. Yeah, oh yeah, we're still waiting for her. Yes, she is super late, guys. I think. Nope, here she is. Why can't I hear her? What is it with the audio? Hold on, let me refresh. I don't hear her at all.
Chaos.
There we go.
Confusion we're seeing play out across the country today. President Biden and Vice President Harris will continue to stand with the vast majority of Americans who support a woman.
Here we go. Let's just rewind it a little bit so we can hear what the hell she's talking about. I can't read sign language, Ash. I wish I could, brother. Okay, we're waiting for her. We just skip it, actually. We know she's already out. I see Jackie in the front row. Okay, so it looks like the audio was fucked up in the beginning. That's not our fault. Wow.
And confusion we're seeing play
Guys,
out across
DEI
the country today. President Biden and Vice President Harris will continue
How
to
terrible
stand
is
with the
that?
vast
They couldn't even get their audio right. She came out and the fucking audio is broken. That wasn't me. That was them. Oh my God. Oh my God. They can't even get their fucking microphones working right. There's DEI in action for you guys. Broken audio, and even when it works, the mic is hot or too quiet or something wrong.
majority of Americans who support a woman's rights to choose. And they will continue to fight to protect reproductive rights and call
Why
on
is this
Congress
bitch
to
always
pass
talking
a
about
law
birth control and
restoring
abortion, right? Isn't she gay? Last I checked, two women can't knock each other up.
the protections of Roe v. Wade for women in every state. On the topic of health care, you just heard from the president earlier today. He marked care workers'
I
recognition.
know, I miss it. I hope that that Donald Trump brings back Kayleigh McEnany as his press secretary. God, she was gorgeous, and she was so quick-witted, right? And she actually answered questions.
Month by joining care
Maybe
workers,
she
union
fibbed a
members,
little
and
bit, but
advocates
they
to
all
highlight
lie.
his
They have to do their job.
to make care more affordable for American families, support family caregivers, boost compensation and job quality for care workers, and expand care options. Through the first ever CARE EO signed by President Biden just last year, as well as through the American Rescue Plan and the CHIPS and Science Act, the Biden-Harris administration is marking transformational investment in child care, home care, paid family and medical leave, and tax cuts for workers and families. And the president's plan would pay for these investments in working families by making billionaires and the biggest corporations pay their fair share.
Why?
That is in sharp contrast with congressional Republicans who released a budget that would make devastating cuts in funding for child care, Head Start.
Greta got a boob job, but she should have spent that money on liposuction, right? They should have sucked the fat out of her guts and put it in her tits. She's 20 years old now. I can talk about her titties.
Corporations. Care workers play an essential role in our economy, and President Biden will never stop
How
fighting.
dare you?
Finally, today, the president spoke with UConn coach Dan Hurley and congratulated him on last night's championship. The UConn Huskies had an incredible year, which culminated in a series of dominant performances in the NCAA tournament. UConn is the first team to win back-to-back championships in the men's bracket since the University of Florida accomplished this feat in 2006 and 2007.
Who cares?
We also congratulated Coach Don
Why are we
Staley
talking
and the
about
University of South
sports?
Carolina on their undefeated season and national championship. The women's tournament
With all the
featured
crazy shit in the world, this bitch wants to talk about sports?
fantastic games and generated record ratings. It was really a March Madness to remember. We congratulate the University of South Carolina, UConn, and the Atlas
Okay, I will, Ash.
on their victories. With that, as you can see, we have the National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan, who's here to...
This is what I want to hear.
The Japan state visit that's happening starting today.
Oh, okay.
And
So it's nothing...
developments around the world. Jake?
So there's nothing important. He's just here. I guess Kirby was doing something else. I don't know.
Thank you, Corrine, and thanks, everybody. I've got some opening comments on the Japan state visit and a couple of other topics, and then I'd be happy to take your questions.
They couldn't even get him in frame right.
First Lady will welcome Prime Minister Kishida and Mrs. Kishida to the White House for an official visit and state dinner. From the very outset of the Biden administrations, we focused on reinvesting in and reinvigorating our alliances, and nowhere has the strength and vibrancy of that strategy been on display more than in the Indo-Pacific, and especially with Japan. The two leaders, President Biden and Prime Minister Kishida, have met nearly a dozen times over the past 3 years in Tokyo and Washington and in cities around the world. And this official state visit will build on the immense progress between our two nations that we've made towards creating a safer and more secure Indo-Pacific.
Okay, I got it queued up and ready to go, Ash.
For our peoples. Over the course of the visit, the President and the Prime Minister will highlight the high ambition of our alliance. Yes, in the defense and technology space, but also across the board, deepening our partnerships on space, technology, economic investment.
Well, Japan actually still makes the best quality electronic components in the world. Like the reason why Chinese electronics suck so bad is because they use their own capacitors, right? Or they use shit manufactured in Taiwan, right? Where American companies still use like Fujitsu and all that shit, right? Right? So Japanese make like the best resistors, capacitors, diodes, transistors, all those things, right? Right?
Fighting climate change, coordinating global diplomacy, and strengthening our people-to-people ties.
And they still manufacture their own electronics. and they're very expensive, right? They're Japanese electronics are far more expensive than things made in China. That's because they don't explode after you plug them in.
You can expect the two leaders to announce. They will announce measures to enhance our defense and security cooperation, to enable greater coordination and integration of our forces, and ensure that they're optimally.
Texas Instruments, though, is living off of legacy products. Really, they're not bringing anything new to the table, right? I like Texas Instruments, but what's keeping Texas Instruments afloat is all the systems built off their older shit, right?
Postured and linked to other like-minded partners. There will be major deliverables on space as we lead the way on space exploration and returning to the moon. There will be announcements of significant research partnerships between our leading institutions on critical and emerging technologies such as AI, quantum, semiconductors, and clean energy. All of this will strengthen our economic ties and economic security as we announce significant commercial deals as part of the state visit. Japan is one of the largest providers of economic assistance and budget support to Ukraine, one of the largest investors in development and infrastructure in Southeast Asia and the Pacific Islands. And this visit will highlight Japan.
I bought a Chinese power supply for my computer once, and it exploded. The fucking power supply exploded inside the computer, wrecked everything.
Japan's continued role in global diplomacy and development, and the coordination that the U.S. and Japan have together with significant deliverables on global assistance and investment both inside and outside the Indo-Pacific. And we'll also announce new initiatives to further foster our cultural connections and promote ties between current changemakers and future generations of leaders. Following the important visit that Prime Minister Kishida is initiating this evening and that will carry through tomorrow, President Biden will welcome President Marcos of the Philippines to the White House on Thursday for his second bilateral meeting at the White House in as many years. President Biden will also
You ever heard of Texas Instruments sound chip? It fucking sucks.
host the first ever trilateral leaders summit between the United States, Japan, and the Philippines. The U.S., Japan, and the Philippines are three closely aligned maritime
Yeah, the Chinese ones are terrible,
with
Ash.
increasingly convergent strategic objectives and interests. Just this past week, our three countries and Australia held joint naval drills in the South China Sea. When I met with my Japanese and Filipino counterparts in Tokyo last June, we agreed to enhance our nation's trilateral partnership, and this week is a culmination of months of effort since.
I don't know. I have an EVGA now, 1,000 watt one. That one's badass.
It's that meeting in Tokyo last June.
Buy EVGA power supplies. You'll know where your money went
Energy
when
security,
it doesn't explode.
economic and maritime cooperation, partnerships on technology and
They
cybersecurity.
fucking explode. The fucking capacitor just exploded inside of it. As soon as I plugged it in. As soon as I turned the computer on, the power supply exploded. Right?
Investments in critical infrastructure. And with this first ever Leaders Trilateral, we're continuing to deepen our cooperation with our closest partners to ensure what we've talked about many times from this podium and elsewhere, a free, open, and prosperous Indo-Pacific. Over the past 3 years, the President has achieved historic breakthroughs across the region, across the Indo-Pacific. He's launched AUKUS, elevated the Quad, brought the U.S.-Japan ROK Trilateral to new heights.
Scared the shit out of me. It sounded like a bomb going off.
In Indonesia, and hosted 2 Pacific Island summits.
Glad I didn't die. It threw shrapnel all inside the computer and destroyed it. I was able to salvage the graphics card out of it. I was running a Bitcoin, or I was mining Zcash with it, with an MSI 280X.
Another momentous chapter to
I was able to save the 280X.
The state visit that Prime Minister Kishida has embarked upon, and this historic trilateral meeting among the U.S., Japan, and the Philippines. I also want to take a moment before going to your questions to address the events of April 5th in Quito, Ecuador. We condemn this violation of the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations, including the use of force against embassy officials. We've reviewed the security camera footage from the Mexican embassy and believe these actions were wrong. The Ecuadorian government disregarded its obligations under international law as a host state to respect the inviolability of diplomatic missions and jeopardized the foundation of basic diplomatic norms and relationships. We've asked Ecuador to work with Mexico.
That's
to find
one way to look
resolution
at it,
to this
SD.
diplomatic dispute, and to that end, we welcome the Organization of American States Permanent Council.
If you're just listening, SD said that China makes shitty components on purpose, so you have to keep buying them. Yeah, well, that's why when I buy shitty shit from China, I buy 10 of them, right? Because you can get 10 shitty ones for the cost of one good one, right? And seeing as how I'm going to break it no matter what it is, I might as well get the 10 shitty Chinese ones.
Meeting this week to help reach a peaceful diplomatic solution. Finally, let me say something on an important issue that's moving through the House this week, reauthorization of 702 of FISA. The administration strongly supports the bipartisan bill, whose text is now with the Rules Committee, to reauthorize this essential intelligence authority and other FISA provisions before they would expire on April 19th. If we lost 702, we would lose vital insight into precisely the threats Americans expect us in government to identify and counter. Terrorist threats to the homeland, fentanyl supply chains bringing deadly drugs into American...
Well, blind dude, that's common across all industries right now. No, actually, I find the Chinese circuit boards are much simpler, actually. Well, I repair electronics, not mechanical shit, right? But yes, the Chinese circuit boards are very easy to work on and very easy to understand because they're so simple and they have so few components. And that's why they blow up and you have to fix them all the time.
Hostile governments' recruitment of spies in our midst, transnational repression by authoritarian regimes, penetrations of our critical infrastructure, adversaries' attempts to illicitly acquire sensitive dual-use and military commodities and technology, ransomware attacks against major American companies and nonprofits.
Yeah, no shit, blind dude.
Russian war crimes, and more. So to protect the American people, we need to maintain this vital collection authority while strengthening its protective guardrails with the most robust set of reforms ever included in legislation to reauthorize Section 702. And this bill does that.
I don't know what he's going on about.
Same reasons, the administration strongly opposes the amendment we anticipate being offered that would rebuild a wall around and thus block access to already lawfully collected information in the possession of the U.S. government. The amendment, if it looks like what we've seen before, would prohibit U.S. officials from reviewing critical information.
If this fucking cloak and dagger spook is coming out and saying we have to do it, we should not do it. That's all I know. That's all I know.
That the intelligence community has already lawfully collected, with only exceptions that are exceedingly narrow and unworkable in practice.
Felix does have a flip phone. I can vouch for that.
Defense and public safety communities are united. The extensive harms of this proposal simply cannot be mitigated, and so the administration strongly opposes the amendment. But we strongly support the underlying bipartisan bill whose text is now with the Rules Committee. With that, I would be happy to take your questions. Yeah.
The White House is still reserving judgment on the IDF report on the killing of the World Central Kitchen aid workers. Why? Why is this review taking so long?
Well, the Israelis fired two of their commanders that authorized the attack on that group. So stuff is happening, despite what the fake news media will tell you.
Of course, that report just came out last week, and what I have done is asked an interagency team of experts who actually have knowledge of the humanitarian operational...
The same experts that told us COVID came from a bat. The same experts that told us the vaccine was safe and effective. The same experts that told us that the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation. The same experts that told us Donald Trump colluded with the Russians in order to steal the 2016 election.
Other elements of this, to look at the circumstances, to look at the findings of the report, and then to come up with some judgments as a result of that. This isn't a formal process, it's an informal review. And as we gain some judgments from that, we'll
share them
with you, but that process is underway now.
How long is it going to take?
I can't tell you exactly how long it's going to take. Yep.
Jay, could you update us where things stand on the latest hostage negotiations? Is any real progress being made? I think Hamas rejected the latest proposal. Are both sides making the kind of concessions that are going to be necessary?
As you know, Bill Burns was in Cairo on.
See where we are right now, guys? See where we are? The ball is in Hamas's court. Right? Right? We have given the moral high ground to Haji. Right? Haji the Jihadi is now calling the shots in the Middle East. Thanks to this administration. This is a fucking travesty.
On Sunday, there was a marathon session that went late into the night among the United States, Israel, Qatar, and Egypt. Qatar and Egypt, of course, were communicating with Hamas through this process.
It's pronounced gutter.
And we have seen Israel take some steps forward in terms of what they're putting on the table. And of course, we've seen the public statements from Hamas that have been, shall we say, less than encouraging. But I spoke with the Prime Minister of Qatar, Sheikh Mohammed, this morning. He does not yet have an answer from Hamas. I pressed him to try to secure an answer from them as soon as possible, and when we have more to report on that front, we will report it to you. Yeah.
Two things. Prime Minister Netanyahu says he has a date for the Rafah operation. Will the administration take any action or restrict military support for Israel if Netanyahu moves forward on Rafah?
If he has a date, he hasn't shared it with us, so I've seen his public comments, but I have nothing more on that front. I'm not going to comment on hypotheticals, but I will state here what I stated the last time I stood at this podium, which is that the United States does not believe that a massive ground invasion of Rafah, where 1.3 or more million people are sheltering, having been pushed out of other parts of Gaza that are now destroyed, into the area where humanitarian assistance comes in. This is not the best way forward. There are better ways to go after Hamas and Rafah. We presented those ways to our Israeli counterparts in a session we held last week. There have been ongoing technical talks between our teams since then, and I anticipate we'll have another opportunity at senior levels to engage them in Rafah, and that conversation will stay ongoing. And then we will make determinations about how we proceed based on
Blind dude says,
to follow up on that, Jake, if
can you imagine being an engineer? Yes, I can. And instead of making things better for humanity, your job is to find ways to make it harder on people. Yeah, and engineers like to help people. That's what we do. Our job is to solve problems. That's basically what the word engineer means, is problem solver, right? Yeah, so, yeah, that definitely messes with your brain. Maybe that is why they have the nets on the skyscrapers. SD says, I left electrical engineering for that reason. As soon as my teachers began the lessons on how electronics, light bulbs, etc. are planned to go bad. Yeah. Well, here's one thing I can say, all right? When you study engineering, what you learn is that you have to have a plan for failure too, right? You have to, right? And so some of these cases, right, it's better for them to fail in a certain way that's not dangerous than for them to catastrophically fail like Chinese power supplies, right? It's better for them to fail in a controlled way, right, than to have them catastrophically fail, right? So some of this planned obsolescence is actually a safety measure, right, to make sure that it fails by way A instead of by way B, right? So some of it actually is making life better for people, because if your car like say your CV joint, right? It's only got so many miles on it, right? They could make it more robust, right? But then it's going to fail in a much worse way that might kill you, right? For instance, right? So yes, some of it is cruel and it's shady, but some of it is essential to keep everything safe, right? It's better for the capacitor to split and leak than it is for it to explode, for instance, right? right? Yes, exactly. Some of it is because of safety, guys, right? Right? Well, that's another way to look at it too, SD. He says, I consider burning components and cancerous gas plumes a catastrophic failure. Yeah, that's definitely a way to look at it. Yes, that's definitely a catastrophic failure, but a bulging capacitor that leaks everywhere, not as dangerous, right?
The U.S. is not even being looped in on the date for when this military operation is set to take place. Why do you think the U.S. has any influence in those upcoming meetings?
God, Jackie's looking sexy as fuck in her baby
First of
blue
all,
fucking
when you
pantsuit.
talk about looped in, the Prime Minister makes public statements. He also talks
With
to us
way
about
too much makeup on.
aspects of operations, about their thinking with respect to Rafah in some considerable detail. I sat in a situation.
Jake Sullivan, on the other hand, looks like he's wearing his father's suit. He looks like a 12-year-old showing up to church in his dad's suit.
Situation room not long ago in a secure video conference.
Get that man a tailor! Sir, do not come back out here until your suit is tailored. Right? I guess we're just spoiled by John Kirby's flashy dressing, right? That this guy comes out in an off-the-rack, untailored suit and he looks like a clown.
That went on for hours, going into specifics on this. So I can't speak to every public comment he makes. What I can tell you is that we have open channels of communication with the Israelis on these issues. They understand our position, and we have been very clear about our deep and abiding concerns about a Rafah operation and our belief that there are better ways to deal with the strategic threat Hamas poses than some of the ideas that have been put forward, and our further belief that any kind of plan to protect civilians in a serious way in Rafah, that's something we have yet to see be presented to us, and so our concerns continue. And now we will have to wait and see what happens, and the United States will respond accordingly. Yeah.
There's a report out today that the Israeli government plans to purchase 40,000 tents ahead of its invasion of Rafah. Has the U.S. seen any sort of an evacuation plan, particularly one involving those tents?
As I said just in the answer to the last question, I have not yet seen a credible and executable plan to move people that has any level of detail about how you not only house, feed, and provide medicine for those innocent civilians, but also how you deal with things like sanitation, water, and other basic services. We have not seen that yet.
Do you think 40,000 tons would be sufficient? Would more be needed?
I'm not going to stand at the podium and substitute for the judgment of humanitarian experts who could speak to what precisely on the shelter front, as well as on all of these other fronts I just described, would be sufficient.
Yeah, but LED light bulbs last for forever, right? Right? And even when they go bad, right? There's a way, if you know what you're doing, to change the rate at which they flicker, right? And then they work again.
So I just can't react in real time to news reports like that. Yeah.
On the Japan visit,
and they're way more efficient LEDs too.
Said to U.S. steel workers, "I have your back. I need it."
That's what I use in my van.
What is his message to the Prime Minister tomorrow about potential acquisition of U.S. steel? How strongly will the President convey his opposition, and will there be any specific things that the President will either urge the Prime Minister to do, or will say steps that he's willing to take to prevent an acquisition?
You guys all know Joe Biden. You've seen Joe Biden. He's been very clear that he's going to stand up for American workers. He's going to defend their interests. He's also been very clear.
That's the biggest joke I've heard all day. Joe Biden has been very clear about X.
That he is going to make sure that the U.S.-Japan alliance is the strongest it's ever been. He's going to accomplish both of those things. That's what he has set out to do as president. That's what he'll continue to do, and I won't comment further on the...
Yeah, the reason they dim is because they're flickering at 1,000 times a second, right? There's a little dial in those that you can turn with a screwdriver and change the flicker rate on some of them. Some of them. Other ones, you have to change the capacitor. Give it more voltage.
Of diplomatic conversations between the two leaders. Yeah.
Jay, can you give us a better understanding? What is the U.S.'s assessment of the troop withdrawal we've seen by the Israelis recently from Gaza? Is this in response to pressure from the United States? Was there any commitment made to the U.S. there? Is this a way of trying to advance negotiations with Hamas? And do you view this as a change in the way Israel is prosecuting?
Damn it.
But what I will say is that a reduction in the intensity and scope of military operations does create a greater opening for the movement of humanitarian goods around Gaza at a critical moment when there is a real humanitarian crisis there. So we welcome the opportunity to move more trucks in and then move more trucks around Gaza so that the innocent...
Has anyone seen the new Kids in the Hall shows that they have on Amazon Prime? The Kids in the Hall are back and they're funny as shit.
People... innocent civilians there can get the food, water, medicine, and other essentials that they need for their...
You also welcomed Erez and Ashdod, the announcement that was made by the Prime Minister, by the Israelis last week. Neither of them have opened now, approaching a week since then. Are you satisfied with this timetable? We were told that the U.S., from your colleague John Kirby, needed to see action within hours or days. It's now days, but certainly well beyond hours. Are you satisfied by the pace of this, and what commitments has the U.S. been made about how soon that will occur?
Well, just to take the opening point of your question, which is that we welcome these steps. What we actually said very clearly from the first minute was Israel has made public statements. Now we need to see them follow through with action, and that action needs to be specific, concrete, and measurable. And that goes for the opening of a crossing into northern...
Yeah, that's true. You're absolutely right, SD.
Of Ashdod Port.
That's what I said. You have to know about these things in order for them to be useful to you. Yes.
When it comes to those two things, we will watch to see what unfolds over the next few days. What John Kirby was talking about in terms of hours was a step change in the willingness of the Israeli government to take action to get more aid into Gaza. And if you look at the last 2 days, there has been a substantial increase in the amount of...
But if they don't have that dial on the board, you can just change one of the capacitors and give it more voltage, and it will normally come back on.
Going into Gaza. That's good. It is not good enough. We would like to see more action following through on what the Prime Minister has announced publicly, and we'd like to see that over the course of the next few days. Yeah.
Thank you, Jake. CNN has reported that the U.S. is bracing for a retaliatory attack by Iran in the Middle East. What can you tell us about your current assessment, whether that's inevitable, and what the U.S. is doing to safeguard its assets there?
So we are watching public statements by Iranian officials, public reports of Iranian plans to potentially take retaliatory action, and we have made clear that, as the president said to the prime minister and as was read out in his...
Blind dude is not growing dope. He's mining gold. That's where all of his money comes from, and I dare you to prove otherwise.
That America's support for Israel's security is ironclad, and America's support for Israel...
No one is growing dope. None of you are growing dope. None of us are growing dope.
And I'm not going to speak to operational details beyond that.
On Ukraine, Speaker Johnson has said that he will pursue what he described as innovations to the Senate package. Has the White House been briefed on what those innovations are and whether the president could support any of them?
Our teams between the White House and Speaker Johnson's teams, as well as with the
Pew Pew is definitely not growing dope.
Had ongoing discussions about how we get a bipartisan, a bill that is supported on a bipartisan basis, passed by 70 votes in the Senate. We believe it could be passed by an overwhelming bipartisan majority in the House, actually onto the floor and voted upon. And I'm not going to speak to the specifics of those conversations because I don't want to negotiate from the podium. Yeah.
Thanks, Jake. Just on Russia, Russian investigators said today they're opening a probe into the financing of terrorism that they say involves Western countries, specifically including funds received by the firm Burisma, by which Hunter Biden was employed. What's your comment on that? Is that just a...
Oh, what? No way. No way. So Russia is saying that America funded terrorism in Moscow through the company Burisma, which has ties to the Biden family. No fucking way. Who would have ever thought that? That's amazing.
It's a political ploy, or how do you view that?
I mean, it's nonsense. Russia knows that it was ISIS who committed the attack in Moscow. We know it was ISIS who committed the attack in Moscow. We warned Russia.
Yes, but who funded ISIS to commit those attacks, right? Yeah, sure, it was ISIS, okay? The same ISIS that attacked Iran. In fact, guys, ISIS attacked Chinese workers in Pakistan over the weekend. That didn't even get on my news radar because so many other crazy things have been happening. But yeah, ISIS attacked China in Pakistan. Right?
Russia of an impending terrorist attack in Moscow, and all of the rest of this is noise. Yeah.
Very briefly, if I may. Yesterday, David Cameron, the British Foreign Secretary, met with Donald Trump. What's your view on that as the president concerned? To see him meeting a potential election rival?
I'm not going to speak to campaign-related issues, Hatch Act, so I'll plead that and move on. Yep.
Thank you. So you are saying that changes from Israel are good, but not good enough. So to pursue more changes, are you going to do something besides talking to them?
Well, what the president said on Friday is that our policy will be determined by the actions that we see unfold. We've seen them take some actions. We would like to see more actions. And as Secretary Blinken said last week, if Israel doesn't continue to sustain and make further changes, then our policy will change. And I won't go beyond that today. We're going to continue to watch. We've seen positive steps. We have welcomed those positive steps. And we have said that we need to see more steps, particularly the follow through on the things that they have committed to publicly.
Thank you, Jack. Two questions quick. Regarding the defense industry cooperation and joint production of defense equipment between United States and Japan.
Okay.
Do you think South Korea and United States and Japan will
Oh,
be
shut up,
joining
lady.
this
I can't understand the goddamn thing you're saying anyway. All right. Look. How far can Beijing and Moscow go in the fight against ISIS-K? 2 deadly terror attacks last month. One at a concert hall in Moscow, and the others a few days later in Pakistan, where 5 Chinese workers died in a suicide bombing, have sounded alarms in Russia and China. Wow! Guys, how convenient that is for America that ISIS is attacking our enemies in Iran, in Russia, and now attacking Chinese in Pakistan. How convenient is that for us, right? Wow. Yeah, I know you didn't hear about that. Yeah. I told you not to buy DJT. Blind dude, I told you to wait a month before you put any money in it. Right? I told you not to buy. God. Nobody ever listens to me. Okay. Let's go.
To your cooperation.
Yes, I did.
To strengthen their power.
I told everyone to wait a month before they bought into that stock because it was going to go down. But I said I wouldn't even buy it even then. But if it's something that you want, yeah. I said don't buy it for at least a month if it's something that you want. But I don't even think it's worth anything.
The Pacific region.
Look, I believe, I don't necessarily like to use the word synergies very often, but I do believe that there are synergies on a trilateral basis in terms of our technological, industrial, economic capacity, as well as our security and military cooperation, and we want to build on that. For tomorrow, what we are announcing will be bilateral measures in this space, and then, of course, we would be open in the future to discussing things more.
Japan is approaching North Korea for a summit, but North Korea...
Oh, yeah, North Korean paratroopers were killed in a military drill over the weekend as well.
Says it is not interested because there is no content for the summit.
When to buy DJT? Like I said, give it about a month. Wait for it to bottom out, right? And how do you know it bottomed out? Because it goes down, and then it makes a little curve, and then starts going back up, right? At the very bottom, there'll be like a bowl shape, right? That's when you want to buy. When that bowl shape is clearly defined and it starts going back up. That's when you want to buy. That's true for anything. Any graph, right? That's your bottom, as in the bowl. There'll be a little bump sometimes even in the middle of the bowl. That's a good thing.
United States position on Japan's push for a summit with North Korea.
Okay, thank you, girl.
Perspective, we believe that principles.
You're gonna cheerlead for handicapped kiddos? Oh, you're so awesome.
Component of an overall strategy to confront the North.
You're so God. She's such a good lady.
Prepared to engage in diplomacy with North Korea. Of course, the North Koreans have not shown any interest in that. They have only tried to move down the track of further development of their.
Yes, SD, that's also true. We're back, guys. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I agree. A random walk with an upward drift. Yes, up and down, but constantly going up over time. Yes, that's a strong asset, right? Yes, I agree.
Weapons, their missile.
He just bought more Donald
so
Trump.
We, the United States, closer together with our allies.
I'm not mad at you, Ash. I'm not mad at you at all.
And we'll continue to do that. Yeah.
But you're gonna wish you bought it like a month from now instead of right now.
First, how are you doing? And second, is there a rescheduling of that meeting with the Crown Prince back in the books?
Cracking your rib is very painful. Maybe.
Remember, watch the walls and never buy the bag.
Not as painful as answering your questions, but I kind of rushed the timing on that joke, which I prepared for. So, no, it actually it hurts a lot. Some of you may have cracked your ribs at some point. There's not a lot you can do about it other than just rest. And yes, I intend to go to Saudi Arabia at some point soon.
Nothing scheduled yet.
What happened, Jay? You got to tell us now.
Just to follow up, you mentioned.
Yeah, you'll be much better positioned if you buy in a month.
Can you also touch on
something like that, right? Wait, like I said, wait for that little curve to form at the bottom and start going back up.
For example, if you can speak about that, how Japan can support AUKUS, and also any plans for trilateral joint naval patrols between U.S., Japan, and the Philippines, anything you can share?
Well, first of all, on the naval patrols, we just saw trilateral plus Australia, a new form of quadrilateral joint naval patrols last week, so you can expect to see more of that in the future. With respect to AUKUS, there was an...
And any time's a good time to buy Bitcoin, so long as you plan on holding it for 10 years.
AUKUS Defense Ministerial yesterday with a statement that came out of it that indicated what we've been saying for quite some time, which is that under Pillar 2 of AUKUS, which is the advanced technology pillar, we're prepared to work with additional partners beyond the three of us where they can bring capabilities. And Japan is one of the countries that could very well bring capabilities to that. So we will explore partnership with Japan under Pillar 2 of AUKUS as well as other partners.
So is the approach broadly, I mean, if we look at this, it's kind of like what you guys have been trying to do in the Middle East against Iran, this integrated missile air defense system. So is the president's ultimate vision ultimately an air and also naval network of alliances against Iran in the Middle East and then China in the Indo-Pacific? Is that where he's going?
That is not how I would characterize it. The president has said that his alliances are not designed against, they're designed for. They're designed for a free and open Indo-Pacific, for peace and stability in the Indo-Pacific, and frankly, the American alliance system has helped bring peace and stability to the Indo-Pacific for decades, and now we need to update and upgrade that alliance network for the modern age. And that includes also reaching out to partners who are not traditional treaty allies of the United States, who have a key role to play in ensuring that the Indo-Pacific remains free, open, prosperous, and secure. So that's how we're looking at things across the region. And by the way, it goes way beyond security. It's economics, it's technology, it's infrastructure development, and it's diplomacy. And that's all going to be on display in the meeting with the Prime Minister. The fact that you have a party, Hamas, who is holding innocent people, that it took hostage a long time ago, doesn't get a lot of attention, unfortunately, in the commentary, and I've said that from the podium before. And there could be a ceasefire in place today that would extend for several weeks to be built upon longer if Hamas would be prepared to release some of those people. So
okay, we're skipping. to
with
Korean.
us, with South Korea, and we should continue to work in that direction. And I can't speak to any particular meeting because I don't know the specifics of it. Thanks, guys.
Planned ISIS attack on churches in Idaho?
Thank you so much, Jake. We have about 10 minutes or so. I think.
Hold on to those assets, blind dude.
The hostage families or the families of the
Bitcoin's going to have a killer year next year. Killer year next year.
To ask questions at like 3 o'clock.
It may be one of the biggest rises in Bitcoin's history.
I believe so. Yes, they did. Just
Next
met
year.
With the Vice President. I shouldn't say I believe so. Yes, they just met with them, or they're meeting, or I'm not sure where they are in that process. So don't have too much time. But Joshua, it's always good to see you. Go
Good
ahead.
to see you. Two quick, following up on Arizona, other than calling for a national law, is there anything else the administration plans to do in response?
I mean, I think we've been very vocal here, right? We've been very straightforward. We've been, I don't know how more vocal and lean.
And just buy Bitcoin. Don't buy exchange traded funds or anything like that. Just buy actual Bitcoin and hold it in your actual wallet.
Into where we stand on this, which is with the majority of Americans, we believe, and been very clear, the president.
And never buy anything when it first comes out.
We have to make sure that
never do that.
Is, when it comes to reproductive freedom, that it is available to all, to women. You know, millions of women right now who are put in a incredibly difficult situation.
Yes, absolutely, Salty. You absolutely should buy Bitcoin on Cash App.
Now, because of these restrictive, extreme restrictive bills that we have seen, laws that we have seen.
Even if it's only like $5 a month or something, whatever you can afford to keep there for years, many, many years, keep it there, right? 10 years. Think like that about your Bitcoin.
Across the country. So we're going to keep the issue of reproductive freedom.
Buying Bitcoin on Cash App is you actually buying actual Bitcoin, right?
The forefront. That's what we're going to do. We're going to continue to call it out. It is causing chaos. What we saw this former president do in making sure that there were Supreme Court justices that he appointed to the, obviously to the Supreme Court, that overturned Roe v. Wade because of the Dobbs decision, and you know it's created some some.
You can buy a physical Bitcoin and you can load it with cryptocurrencies. Absolutely.
Chaos, as I just mentioned, and so we're going to continue to put that out at the forefront. We believe that women's lives are at stake across the country, and we're just not going to stop speaking out. And obviously, we're going to ask Congress to legislate and make rules.
Well, it's not that long, blind dude.
Law of the land.
And you won't have to buy my coins. I'll be giving them away.
And inflation's at 3.2%. It's higher than it was in June.
No one will have to buy them.
Are there any concerns that the disinflation we saw last year is starting to stall out?
Remember, the goal of bubble is not to make people rich. It's to protect free speech.
So look, I'm going to say that this is a president that is doing everything that we can to fight inflation, right? To build an economy from the bottom up, middle out. And we've been pretty consistent.
We're going to build the economy from the bottom up and the middle out, thereby creating a mushroom that falls in on itself.
What we've seen over the past several months is that inflation is down 2/3, and core inflation is at the lowest since May of 2021. That matters.
I hope that bubble coin will be the next Ethereum during the next bull run, right? And in October of 2016, Ethereum was $5, right? In October of 2017, Ethereum was $500, right? My coin does more than Ethereum ever will do. Matter of fact,
wages are rising.
Matter of fact, I am, and I didn't want to announce this publicly, but I'm going to. I've actually designed the first half of an atomic swap. So, what is an atomic swap? An atomic swap is a way for you to trade coins without an exchange, right? For a user-to-user transfer. You send me Ethereum, I send you Bitcoin, right? But like it's decentralized, right? The first part of the atomic swap is a time-locked transaction, right? Yes. So that is something that Bubble already had. Well, it doesn't have it. I've designed it. I haven't implemented it yet. But it will work, right? It will work, right? So now, the problem with that is, well, for an atomic swap to really work, you need a decentralized exchange, coin exchange. Well, that's all part of the plan, kids. That's all part of the plan. All right. Yes. And we're getting close to the 20th, but I'm busting my ass. Like, I really shouldn't even be doing this. I just need a break. I'm busting my ass to have something out on the 20th, guys.
Faster than prices over the last year. Since the pandemic, we've seen
it won't be pretty, but it'll work
because of the policies that this president has put forward. Some really historic, bipartisan, even legislation that's come into law that helped create those millions of jobs. Unemployment is at under 4%. Is there more work to be done? Absolutely. We're going to continue to do everything that we can to lower cost. We're going to continue to take on big pharma, for example. We're going to continue to lower housing costs, which we know really hurts families. And you hear talk about junk fees, getting rid of junk fees, and the gouging that we're seeing from corporations. That's also very important.
Yeah, Biden saved you $2 on a Ticketmaster fucking ticket. That's why you should vote for him again. Aren't you glad you only had to spend $1,945 on a Taylor Swift ticket instead of $1,947?
Congressional Republicans want to do the opposite. They want to cut Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, cutting taxes for the wealthy and big corporations. That's not where the president is. You heard him talk about it in depth during the State of the Union, and we're going to continue to fight for Americans. So look, we see inflation is down. It is important, and we're going to continue to build an economy that leaves no one behind.
Corinne, in Michigan, the parents of a school shooter have just been sentenced to at least 10 years in prison. Does the White House think this precedent could impact the number of school shootings in the future? And does the president believe parents should be held accountable in this way?
So look, I don't want to get ahead of the legal process here. There is a legal process. I want to be super careful. But the president obviously remains committed to stopping tragedies like these from happening. It is a tragedy that we're seeing in all communities across the country. Ending the epidemic of gun violence that is tearing up communities is a priority for this president. We know that when it comes to guns, it is the #1 killer of our children, and that shouldn't be. So we know.
I thought fentanyl was the #1 killer of our children. I'm pretty sure fentanyl kills more people than guns. Well, I mean, if you take away wars, yeah. I mean, yeah, sure. Guns kill more children if we consider war.
K-12 school shootings are using firearms they obtain from home of a friend or a family member. That's why we recently announced new executive actions to help promote the safe storage of firearms. The U.S. Department of Education released...
Hey, what's up, Spicy Peach?
The importance of safe firearm storage, and the DOJ released a gun guide on best practices for safely storing firearms.
Well, abortion is the #1 killer of children, yes.
We continue to use every tool at our disposal to implement these and other common sense gun safety measures to protect our children. We're going to continue to work. We did the bipartisan Safer Communities Act that you know that.
Yes, you are, Salty.
2021, obviously in a
yes.
bipartisan way. That was important, but we need Congress to take another step. And so we're going to continue to push Congress on taking more steps to get those weapons of war, if you will.
The weapons of war, guys. The children are being killed by guns, right? Handguns. Illegal handguns bought by gang members in the inner city, right? And the way to solve that is by taking away legally purchased AR-15s from people that live in the country. Make it make sense. Make it make sense.
Off our streets, and that's what the president wants to continue to do.
So no reaction?
No, I'm going to be super careful about the legal process. I've talked through, I just laid out, I think in pretty detail about what we're doing to make sure that, as we know, the K-12 students who carry out those types of horrific actions, they're easily have access to firearms. So we're trying to...
Remember, guys, America has the lowest incident of mass shooting fatalities when compared against other Western nations, even though we have the most lax gun laws, right? And then as we go up that scale, we find out that the country with the most extreme gun laws, Norway, has the highest per capita death rate by mass shooting in the world, right? Right? So the more gun control you have, the more likely you are to be killed in a mass shooting event.
Through DOJ, through an executive action, try to figure out.
Hey, what's up,
really
Shep?
help parents and folks really store their firearms in a way that this doesn't happen. So we've taken actions and steps in those forms in that way. And so look, we're going to continue to do what we
Look,
can.
we've taken action, guys.
To do more. Go ahead, Mary.
A follow-up on Jake's comments on Rafa. You know, he's stopped short of saying that an invasion would lead to a change in U.S. policy. You want to see how these high-level talks and conversations play out. But the White House has been very public in warning Israel that if they don't make concrete changes to address humanitarian suffering, there will be these changes. Why not extend that warning to an invasion that you clearly have very deep concerns about?
So I want to be really careful. I mean, you had the National Security Advisor right in front of you lay out where we are with the conversations. We had a virtual conversation. Jake was part of it. He just talked about how it took some hours that happened just about a week ago. And the most important thing there is that there's conversations happening with the Israeli government and our government, and they're listening to what we're saying.
If you subtract FBI mass shootings, then we don't have any.
And we understand. I want to be really clear. We understand.
No. Gang members and drug dealers kill groups of people all the time in Chicago.
There are Hamas operatives in the Rafah, but there are also more than 1 million innocent civilians who are taking refuge in
I thought gun
Rafah,
control was being able to shoot well.
Sure that they are protected. So a major military operations is not something that we support. We've been pretty consistent about that. Don't want to get into hypotheticals here, but we're
back. Yeah, guys. They don't want to take the illegal handguns away from the poor black drug dealers, right? No, they want it because they want to take away the guns from the Republicans, so that way they're outgunned by the gang members, right? Right? Because they need those gang members to vote for them.
are happening. They've been productive.
That's why they don't have any. That's why they let them out of jail without bail, so that they could be out and ready to vote for them.
There's going to be a face-to-face conversation, in-person conversation that the Israeli government agreed to, so that's going to happen. But those open line of communications, as the National Security Advisor was saying just moments ago from this podium, is continuing. They're happening almost every day. And
Stockholm is hell.
Super
they even use hand grenades. What?
Hypotheticals, but
what, in their mass killings they use? We're talking about
last week virtually.
And in Stockholm, right, it's jihadis doing it, right, Usi? It's not Swedish people or Norwegians doing it, right? It's jihadis, right? It's migrants doing all the killing, right?
And we're going to continue to make sure that we're having those discussions, and they hear from us directly about how we believe protecting those more than about 1.5 million civilians in Rafah, we got to protect those lives.
When should we expect that U.S.-Israel meeting to take place?
I believe it's going, from what I've been hearing from our folks at National Security Council, is going to be in a couple of weeks. But again, those open line of communication, there's constant communications happening.
Yeah, me too, SD.
But as it relates to this particular conversation, when they're going to be here in person, members of the Israeli government, that's going to happen in a couple of weeks.
Thank you, Corinne. A couple days ago in Dearborn, there were protesters chanting "Death to America" and "Death to Israel." Does the president condemn that?
Yes.
Is the president at all concerned that Dearborn is facing a risk of becoming a hotbed of any sort of homegrown threats?
I don't have any intelligence to share with you on that, obviously.
Yeah, if you guys don't know what they're talking about, over the weekend in Dearborn, American jihadi supporters gathered in the streets chanting "Death to America." in Arabic. Yes, Dearborn, Michigan is now a jihadi hellhole where they riot on the streets demanding death to America.
See, that's something that we're always very vigilant about, but don't have any national intelligence to share with you.
And then,
But obviously, we will condemn any violent rhetoric, which we have been very. I mean, you're hearing from me, right? You're asking me a question, I'm answering it, and we've been very vigilant about, or very consistent about denouncing that type of.
Soon Dearborn will be under Sharia law, and women will have to wear those beekeeper suits. Burqa jihad.
That type of rhetoric.
Burqa jihad.
The president on that, though, I mean, it was a pretty significant display.
I mean, you're hearing from me. I think that's important. The other part, too, that I do want to be very clear about, peaceful protest is something that the president has also been very clear that is important to give folks space to peacefully protest. But
yeah, guys, they were just peacefully protesting death to all Americans. Nothing more peaceful than inciting violence against your neighbors, right? That's a peaceful protest. But grandmas getting pushed into the Capitol by fucking FBI informants, that's an insurrection.
Any type of violent rhetoric, we are going to denounce.
And then on some of the comments he made today, did the president mean to essentially accuse Republicans of murder? I mean, the language that he was using to describe opposition to the Affordable Care Act, the quote was, they want to terminate the Affordable Care Act. Terminate, well, guess what? Killing millions of Americans.
A cross-dressing pincushion.
Trying to kill Americans.
I think you're.
Yeah, J. Edgar Hoover was a fruit, guys. When SD says pincushion, what he means was he got fucked in the ass all day.
Taking the most extreme definition or extreme evaluation of what the president said.
Yes, they can. But there comes a line, right? Like when you abuse our rights in order to what's the word I'm looking for? Subvert our way of life, right? Then you should no longer be entitled to free speech, right? When you use free speech in order to bring about Islamic jihad and a worldwide intifada under an Islamic caliphate, right? Maybe there's an argument there for taking away your free speech, right? Like, instead of going after people like me who are using their free speech to inform people about how fucked up things are getting, maybe they should go after these Islamic jihadi caliphate people, right?
The Affordable Care Act, which obviously started in the Obama-Biden administration, the president expanded on that, making sure that people have affordable health care. That saves lives. It does. It is important. It is. But you're taking what he said to the most extreme part of your definition or your realization. I know, but let's be really clear. Let's be really clear. People having health care is important. It saves lives. It is important to have that. The fact that this president was able to expand that is important, right? We're talking about people who didn't have access to health care that could, whether they're dealing with diabetes or cancer or something that is affecting their everyday life, right? And I think, when you have a party that's trying
Yes, today is the last day of Ramadan. Perhaps there will be more violent jihadi outbreaks in the country, or around the world, right? That's probably why Iran hasn't done anything, because it's still Ramadan, right? But tomorrow is going to be a different day, right? And Iran has warned that it's going to target American assets. That could be American cities, right? This president has let in every jihadi that it can, right? So I don't know. I'm expecting an event inside the United States. I'll be honest. I thought there was going to be one yesterday. That's why they had the National Guard out everywhere, right? I thought there was going to be an event yesterday.
Get rid of Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and says it bluntly and wants to repeal. They tried to repeal Affordable Health Care, or Affordable Care Act, to be more specific, more than 60 times. They literally voted on it when it is saving people's lives. Why? Why do they do that? Why? Do they not want Americans to have health care, affordable health care, to protect themselves?
Remember, the affordable health care killed my mom because we were too
The
poor
president's trying to do the right thing.
for them to waste money on trying to save my mom.
He's trying to be where majority of Americans are, and
Ramadan.
protect their health care, protect their Medicare, protect their Medicaid. And you don't see that from the other side. You just don't. He literally had a back and forth with them during the State of the Union about that. So, go ahead.
On the nomination of Adil Manji, there are 3 Democrats publicly opposed. Does the administration feel like there are some winnable Republican votes here? And is the administration committed to filling this circuit court position by the end of the year, even if that means moving on from
Somebody's door. I don't know what's happening. A chime.
Everything's
okay here.
It's windy.
It's windy.
It's
actually warm. But to your question, I'm going to be. I'm not going to comment or respond to particular members. I will say what I've said many times from here is that the president is deeply proud to have nominated an extraordinary qualified person for this position who is being targeted by malicious attacks. We know that. We have heard from the Anti-Defamation League. They made that clear. They debunked the right-wing smear campaign against Mr. Manji. They said it was profoundly wrong. And it is unfortunate that we're seeing this. And so we're fighting for him. We are continuing to have conversations with members of Congress about this. We're committed to getting him through.
I don't know, Shemp.
This president believes
What's
that
a
he's
person?
highly qualified and is proud to have nominated him to this position. We have one more question because we're running out. Go ahead, Brian. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, because
wanted to ask about
we showed up so late that we're out of time now, guys.
Articles of impeachment to the Senate. What is the president's response to this, and has the president personally reached out to members of the Senate to talk about this?
So the president spoke, I think, the last time they tried to do this and were unsuccessful. The president put out a statement and he said that history will not look kindly on House Republicans about this. It is a blatant act of unconstitutional partisanship. That's what the president has said. He continues to believe that. Look, the president was in Madison, Wisconsin yesterday. He talked about student loans. He talked about ways to give Americans a little bit more of breathing room, making sure that they can.
We're all going to get a breathing room, guys.
Making sure that borrowers who have been really crunched by student loans has an opportunity to get out from that. And that's something that Republicans could be helpful with, but instead they get in the way and block what the president is doing. But he's going to continue to do that. There is a national security supplemental that could go to the floor in the House that the speaker can put to the floor. We know it passed overwhelmingly.
Just a little bit of a breathing room.
Our national security. It would help Ukraine, the brave people of Ukraine who are fighting for their democracy, help them. They are getting in the way of that. So look, there are ways. Let's not forget the bipartisan border deal, right? That the former president said to Republicans to reject that deal because it would help Joe Biden and hurt him. Who are they working for? Are they actually working for the constituents who put them into office? I mean, that's a question for them to have to answer. Majority of Americans, the things that I just listed out, majority of Americans want to see action. They want to see us work in a bipartisan way. We saw that coming out of the 2022 midterm election. They want to see
the
us
president
come
will
together
continue to do.
So House Republicans need to stop playing politics. They
She
need to
did
stop
say
being
that.
partisan about these issues that matter to majority of Americans, and get to work. We expect them to be leaders, but so do Americans expect them to be leaders as well. Guys, I have to go because I know they're going to go to the sticks, and I want to make sure that you guys get that. And so the president obviously is going to have the 2+2 press conference tomorrow, and then we'll be back on Thursday. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, Thursday. The president's going to have a press conference tomorrow. Well, that's a rare event. I wonder if he's going to call on people from a list that has pre-chosen questions and pre-chosen answers already for him. I'm going to say that that's probably how it's going to go down, but, They might surprise us. You never know. You never know. Yeah, she sucks bad. I know. I know. All right, guys. Well, that looks like it was it for the press conference and all that. Yeah. Remember, guys, I am being heavily censored by the algorithm, and I am being suppressed and all that, and they hate me. So it would be cool if you guys could support the channel. You don't have to, but I mean, I would like it. I drop links in the chat. They're also in the description on how you can do that. Yeah. So what's going on? I'm actually going to get back to writing code. I have a lot of code to write. In order to put out something on the 20th that resembles what I have been trying to build in an alpha state. But yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. Yeah. All right, Shemp, thanks for coming by. All right, now I have, well, Ash left, but I got a song, so we're going to play this song.
When I say climate change, what do you think of? Blah, blah, blah. There is no planet B. There is no planet blah.
There's no planet blah, guys.
Blah, blah. We can no longer let the people in power decide. Blah, blah, blah.
All right.
Did you hear me? What do we want? Blah, blah,
Thanks, everybody, for coming out.
But it starts with blah.
You guys are fucking awesome.
Blah, blah, blah. This is all we hear. What do we want? Blah, blah, blah. What do you think of? They say blah. When do we want it? Blah, blah.
Hopefully I'll see you tomorrow for the president's press conference.
From our so-called leaders. Words that sound great, but just look at the numbers.
You guys are fucking awesome. I'll see you later. Thanks. Bye.
Blah, blah, blah. Of course, we need constructive dialogue, but they now have 30 years of blah, blah, blah. They invite therapeutic young people to meetings like this to pretend that they are listening. This is not about some expensive, politically correct green act of blah, blah, blah. There is no planet B. There is no planet blah. Build back better. Blah, blah, blah. The economy. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. Did you hear me? What do we want?
Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah.
This is all we hear.
What are you doing here? The show's over.
What do you think of? They say blah. When do we want it? Blah, 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 blah.
You guys should leave. You guys should just leave. There's no more show.
Innovation, cooperation.
There's nothing left. It's all over.
And they're not holding leaders accountable for their action, or rather in.
Blah, blah, blah.
We need to walk the talk.
Go home. Go home, everyone. Go home.
To be climate action, and we don't want it. Blah, blah, blah. What do we want? When do we want it?
Great to show.
What do we want? When do we want it? Blah, blah, blah. There is no planet B. There is no planet blah. Build back better. Blah, blah, blah. Green economy. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. Did you hear me? What do we want? Blah, blah, blah. But it starts with blah.
Give me blah. I need the blah.
What do we want? Blah, blah, blah. What do you think of? They say blah. When do we want it? Blah, blah, blah. Blah, 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 blah.
Go home. Go home, everyone. Go home.
Now listen, if you have not subscribed to YouTube channel, do it right now. Do it today. And all you have to do is